You're sitting around a crackling fire 30,000 years ago. The smoke stings your eyes and the night air is cold. Someone in your tribe just made a strange noise with their mouth. Everyone around the fire starts laughing uncontrollably. What just happened? Did that person just tell the world's first joke? Here's the thing that will blow your mind. Humans have been making each other laugh for longer than we've been human. But what was the very first joke ever told? And how do we even know ancient people had humor? The answer involves flatulence, dead kings, and a very confused dog. Let me take you on a journey through archaeological history. We're going to find humanity's oldest recorded joke. And trust me, it's not what you expect. Humor is one of the most mysterious human traits. We're the only species that laughs at abstract concepts. Chimpanzees laugh when you tickle them physically, but only humans laugh at ideas and wordplay. This ability required massive brain evolution. It needed language, theory of mind, and social intelligence. So when did our ancestors first develop this skill? The archaeological record gives us some surprising clues, and the oldest recorded joke is absolutely disgusting. Before we get to specific jokes, let's talk about laughter itself. Laughter evolved long before humans even existed. Primates have been laughing for at least 10 million years. But their laughter sounds nothing like ours. Chimp laughter is a breathy panting sound. It happens during play, fighting, and tickling. It's purely physical and reactive. Human laughter evolved to be much more complex. We laugh at things that aren't even happening. We laugh at memories and hypothetical scenarios. We laugh at pure abstraction. This required the evolution of language first. Most scientists believe language emerged around 100,000 years ago. Once we had language, we could play with it. And playing with language is what jokes are. So the first jokes probably emerged sometime after that. But we have no recordings from 100,000 years ago. We need to look at written evidence instead. And that takes us to ancient Sumeria. The oldest recorded joke in history comes from Sumeria. It was written down around 1800 BCE. That's nearly 4,000 years ago. The joke was discovered on a cuneiform tablet. Archaeologists found it in the ruins of ancient Iraq. So what was this groundbreaking piece of comedy? Here it is in translation, something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap, that's it. That's humanity's oldest recorded joke. A fart joke. We've been doing toilet humor for 4,000 years. Actually, we've probably been doing it much longer. This is just the oldest one written down. The joke works on multiple levels if you understand Sumerian culture. It's sarcastic because, of course, young women farted. The humor comes from stating the impossible as fact. It's also mocking the formal language of historical records. Sumerian scribes would write something which has never occurred since time immemorial seriously. Using that phrase for a fart joke is inherently funny. It's ancient irony. The British Museum has this tablet in their collection. Dr. Michael Jersa analyzed it in 2008. He confirmed it was intentionally humorous, not accidental. But Sumeria isn't the only source of ancient jokes. Ancient Egypt has left us some comedy gold too. The oldest Egyptian joke dates to around 1900 BCE. It was found in the West Kar papyrus. The joke involves a pharaoh and his magicians, but it's more of a humorous story than a one-liner. Ancient Egypt also had professional comedians. They were called lawmakers in hieroglyphics. These performers entertained pharaohs and nobles. Unfortunately, most of their material wasn't written down. Comedy was considered low art, not worth preserving. But we do have some Egyptian puns carved in stone. Egyptian language was perfect for puns because of hieroglyphics. The same symbol could represent different words. This created endless opportunities for wordplay. One tomb inscription makes a pun on the word for bread and life. It was meant to make people smile at a funeral. Death humor was apparently acceptable in ancient Egypt. Now let's jump forward to ancient Greece. The Greeks took comedy extremely seriously. They invented theatrical comedy as an art form. Aristophanes wrote plays filled with jokes around 400 BCE. His comedy, The Clouds, mocked the philosopher Socrates. It portrayed Socrates as a pretentious idiot running a scam school. The real Socrates was reportedly not amused. Greek comedy was often incredibly crude. Aristophanes' plays featured constant sexual jokes. There were jokes about genitals, bodily functions, and prostitution. This wasn't considered inappropriate. It was performed at religious festivals for the whole city. The Greeks believed laughter was spiritually cleansing. But what about individual jokes, not just plays? The oldest Greek joke book is called Philogelos. It was compiled around the 4th century CE. That's relatively recent compared to Sumerian tablets, but it preserves jokes that are much older. Some of these jokes are still funny today. Here's one from Philogelos. A man goes to a barber and asks how long the wait is. The barber says 2 hours. The man leaves and comes back the next day. He asks the same question and gets the same answer. This happens several days in a row. Finally, the barber sends someone to follow the man. Where does he go every time? To the barber's house to sleep with his wife. That joke is 2,000 years old, and it still has a solid setup and punchline. The structure of jokes hasn't changed much. Philogelos contains 265 jokes. Many of them involve stupidity, death, and bodily functions. Sound familiar? Humans have always laughed at the same things. Now let's talk about a darker aspect of ancient humor. Jokes weren't always innocent entertainment. They were powerful social weapons. In ancient Rome, political jokes could get you killed. The Emperor Domitian executed people for making fun of him. But people kept making jokes anyway. Humor was a form of resistance. Slaves used jokes to mock their masters secretly. They developed coded humor that went over masters' heads. This continued through history in every oppressed group. Jewish humor, African American humor, Irish humor, all emerged from using comedy as survival. Making your oppressor laugh could save your life. But making fun of your oppressor could end it. Ancient court jesters walked this dangerous line. They were the only ones allowed to mock the king. But they had to be extremely clever about it. One wrong joke meant execution. Medieval records show several jesters who were killed. Their crime was a joke that went too far. So where did the concept of the joke actually come from? What makes something a joke instead of just a statement? Linguists have studied this question extensively. Dr. Salvatore Attardo developed the general theory of verbal humor. He identified 6 knowledge resources that create humor: language, narrative strategy, target, situation, logical mechanism, and script opposition. That last one is the most important. Script opposition means the joke leads you one direction, then suddenly switches to an unexpected direction. Your brain experiences a pleasant surprise. That surprise triggers laughter. Ancient humans discovered this mechanism through trial and error. They noticed certain story patterns made people laugh. Those patterns got repeated and refined over generations. Eventually, they became formalized joke structures. The setup and punchline format is ancient. It appears in Sumerian, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman humor. Humans independently discovered the same comedy formula worldwide because it matches how our brains process information. Now here's something that will surprise you. The oldest jokes aren't just preserved in writing. They're also preserved in oral traditions. Indigenous cultures worldwide have jokes thousands of years old. These jokes were passed down verbally through generations. Anthropologists have collected them in recent centuries. Some African tribal jokes are estimated to be 5,000 years old. They've remained unchanged because of strict oral tradition. These jokes often involve trickster figures. Anansi the spider in West African culture, Coyote in Native American traditions, Loki in Norse mythology. These characters embody humor and chaos. Their stories are essentially very long jokes. They teach lessons through humor. This suggests jokes originally had educational purposes. They weren't just entertainment. They were memory devices for important information. A funny story is easier to remember than a boring lecture. Ancient teachers knew this instinctively, so they wrapped lessons in humor. This tradition continues in every culture today. Teachers still use jokes to help students remember, because the human brain hasn't changed. We still learn better when we're laughing. Let's return to that original question. What was the very first joke ever told? We'll never know for certain. It wasn't written down because writing didn't exist yet, but we can make educated guesses. The first joke was probably physical comedy. Someone tripping and falling unexpectedly. Someone making a silly face. Someone imitating another person mockingly. This kind of humor requires no language. Even babies laugh at physical comedy. A 9-month-old will laugh if you pretend to fall. This is hardwired into human psychology, so the first joke was probably someone doing something silly, and others laughing at the unexpected action. The first verbal joke came much later. It probably involved subverting an expectation. Someone describing a hunt but changing the ending, making the hunter become the hunted, or making a dangerous animal seem ridiculous. These reversals are the foundation of all humor, and they appear in every joke ever told. Even that Sumerian fart joke, it reverses the expectation of dignified historical records. Even modern stand-up comedy uses the same technique. Comedians set up expectations, then violate them. We're still using Stone Age comedy techniques, because they work with how human brains evolved. Here's something profound to consider. Jokes are uniquely human because they require imagination. You have to imagine a scenario that isn't real. Then recognize the incongruity when reality differs. This requires abstract thinking. It requires understanding that others have different knowledge than you. It requires theory of mind. All of these are advanced cognitive abilities. They emerged relatively recently in human evolution, probably within the last 200,000 years. Before that, our ancestors couldn't tell jokes. They could laugh at physical comedy, but they couldn't create verbal humor. The ability to joke is proof of modern human consciousness. It's evidence that we can think about thinking. We can imagine scenarios and manipulate them mentally. This same ability gave us art, music, and religion. Jokes are cognitive cousins to spirituality. Both require imagining things that aren't physically present. When ancient humans started telling jokes, something shifted. They weren't just reacting to their environment anymore. They were creating new realities with their words. They were proving they had full symbolic thinking. So that first joke, whenever it was told, marked something important. It marked humans becoming fully human, becoming creatures who could laugh at ideas, not just at physical tickling or surprise, but at pure abstraction. And we've been doing it ever since, for probably 100,000 years, through ice ages and migrations. Through the invention of agriculture and cities, through empires rising and falling, humans have been making each other laugh. The same basic jokes appear in every culture. Jokes about bodily functions, jokes about sex and relationships, jokes about stupidity and death. These are human universals, because they address universal human experiences. Everyone has a body that does embarrassing things. Everyone deals with romantic complications. Everyone knows someone who does stupid things, and everyone fears death. Jokes help us cope with these uncomfortable realities. Laughter is a pressure release valve. It lets us discuss taboo topics safely. Ancient humans figured this out thousands of years ago, and we're still using their discovery today. So the next time you laugh at a stupid joke, remember you're participating in an ancient human tradition. You're doing something your ancestors did around fires, in caves, and on plains. Under the same stars you see today. That fart joke from Sumeria? Someone told a version of it before it was written down. And someone probably told a version before that, going back generation after generation, until we reach someone telling the very first fart joke. Some brave soul who made an inappropriate noise, and then laughed about it with their friends. That person changed human culture forever. They discovered that shared laughter creates bonds.